Hello, have you ever wondered about a simple way of understanding the seven gifts of the Holy Spirit, especially during these troubling times? You will certainly find this video very helpful as it explains in simple terms these gifts and offers a credible way of pushing on amidst every life's trial and difficulty. Now, according to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 1831, the seven gifts of the Holy Spirit belong in their fullness to Christ, Son of David. They complete and perfect the virtues of those who receive them. They make the faithful docile in readily obeying divine inspirations. These gifts include wisdom, understanding, knowledge, counsel, fortitude, piety, and fear of the Lord. Let us now begin with the first, the gift of wisdom.
The gift of wisdom is the first gift mentioned in Isaiah chapter 11. In connection with the coming Messiah, who of course is Jesus, and so by extension, the gift of wisdom and all the other gifts are meant for us too, as children of God. But gifts are no use if they're left on a shelf unused. Yes?
Absolutely. We need to unpack it and we need to use it. We also need to find out what it's about. And wisdom is not a mind process. Wisdom isn't what the world thinks about it today. St. Bernard said, wisdom both illumines the mind and instills an attraction to the divine. And it's that attraction to the divine and realising the importance of God in everything we do.
I think Solomon's a great example of that. King Solomon was offered by God anything he could have. He chose wisdom, and because he chose wisdom, everything in his kingdom went according to the plan of God.
And what is the gift of understanding about?
The gift of understanding is when God gives you a new, deeper insight. It's a godly insight. He's revealing something new to you. You couldn't work it out yourself. You've maybe read about it, you've maybe experienced something, but when God gives you this word of understanding, it's a completely new perspective and it impacts you. It's no longer in your head, it's in your heart, and it's for use in your life. It causes you to change, and it's so authentic in that it is simple but deep, and that's how you know it comes from God. God knows when you're searching for something, and it's his great pleasure to teach you.
And here comes the gift of knowledge.
I think I first encountered the Holy Spirit several years ago when I, purely out of curiosity, decided I was going to attend a Life in the Spirit seminar. And that is when I discovered the power of the Holy Spirit and the difference it can make in your life. One of the gifts, there are many gifts of the Holy Spirit, but one of the gifts is the gift of knowledge. And I would love to be able to say that following that weekend, I knew everything there was to know about my Catholic faith. I was an expert, but I wasn't. I didn't get all that vast knowledge instantly, just like that. But what I did get was an important piece of knowledge, and the knowledge is that with the power of the Holy Spirit, which is the power of God working within you, you can take on anything. Life is easier. It's that gift of knowing that God is with you and that God can do anything. Nothing is impossible for him. He can move mountains. So if he can deal with great big stuff and all the awful stuff that goes on in the world, particularly right now, then, you know, if I hand over everything to him through the Holy Spirit, then that is a great gift of knowledge for me.
Veronica, what is the fourth gift of the Holy Spirit?
Fourth gift of the Holy Spirit. You know, it's very funny that you're asking me. I'm actually reading an ancient manuscript on the matter. The fourth gift of this Holy Spirit is the gift of counsel. It is also known as the gift of right judgment. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas, who was a doctor of the church, he was a very clever lad, said that counsel is the gift that allows us to be directed by God, particularly in those areas of our life which pertain to our salvation. Told you, smart cookie, wasn't he? See, this gift enables us to see and choose correctly what will be most helpful to spreading the glory of God and furthering our own salvation. The gift of counsel is God saying to us, let me help you do the right thing.
And now we go to fortitude.
Fortitude is more commonly known as courage and endurance. It is the gift of God's strength to stand for what is right to God, even in the face of evil. Fortitude is what gives us the strength to stand by our faith, even in the most troubling of times. I believe that in this time of global pandemic, the gift of fortitude is helping us all to remain strong in our faith, even though it is easy to be dominated by doubt. I believe that the gift of fortitude applies just as much today as it did in the days of old, when priests chose martyrdom rather than betraying the seal of confession. Thank you. May God bless you. And this Pentecost, may God bless us all with a fresh outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And what do you think about piety?
It is easy to think that piety is something you can get for yourself rather than something you're divinely gifted by the Holy Spirit. There's a place in the life of any believer for both formal and informal piety, such as traditional prayers and devotions, and many different forms of worship, provided they're rooted in the true and honest worship only of God.
It is quite easy to fall into the trap of allowing such things to become a platform for pride. We must always be aware of this danger and reflect any credit back to God, who gave these gifts to be used for His glory alone.
Humility forms a part of this. We need to be ever mindful of the temptation to steal God's glory, when without His gifts we would be nothing.
Piety would therefore imply a humble attitude coupled with a genuine wish to offer back to God and to His glory, through our prayer and worship, the gifts He has so generously given us.
And finally, what about the gift of the fear of the Lord?
Many people are misled by the use of the word fear in the gift of the fear of the Lord. The truth for me is fear is evil, and that's the only enemy we have. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. So how do we account for the use of fear in the Bible? The answer is that in the Bible, the fear of God means reverence of God. Reverence of God is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge, and we show that by seeing God everywhere.
That means refusing to recognise anything that is unlike Him and living the Christ life. We must avoid evil or anything that lures us to do evil deeds. The spirit of the fear of the Lord is a filial fear, a fear out of the love of God. We hope you have a very blessed and spirit-filled Pentecost.
Wow, amazing indeed, isn't it? I have indeed learned a lot from these 1-minute expositions on the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and I hope that you too have not only enjoyed it, but also have been inspired. So we say a huge thanks to our friends who have helped us in these expositions. Do you recall that lovely story of a monk who was praying under a tree beside the river? As he prayed, the tide was coming and the river was rising. Then he noticed a scorpion at the foot of the tree struggling for its dear life as the surging waves tried to drown it. The monk stretched out his hand to pull the scorpion to safety, but each time his hands went near the scorpion, it tried to sting him. A passerby saw what was going on and said to the monk, "What are you doing? Don't you know that it is the nature of the scorpion to sting?" "Ah, yes," the monk replied. "Just the same way it is my nature to save. Must I change my nature because the scorpion refuses to change its nature?" Yes, and indeed, it is our very nature to love and to save. And these gifts of the Holy Spirit help us to be true to our nature. As we celebrate the solemnity of Pentecost then, we ask the Holy Spirit to help us constantly in our struggles of life to continue being true to our nature. Come, Holy Spirit, come, fill our hearts with your love.